So Barry, how are you?
Very well, thanks. Thanks for coming up to see us.
Thank you for inviting me. So we obviously saw each other beginning of this year when we were doing a Meridian sort of TPI day up in Huntington. And we discussed doing another podcast. The other podcast was going to be at TPI. We sort of ran out of time on that day. You know, Giles was talking about his amazing speakers. But today we found ourselves in Ely in a office, sort of shared office space. And we're talking to you about something completely different, which I don't think anybody apart from you and Hugo saw coming, which was AV8. So tell us a little bit about the news, what's going on, and what AV8 is about.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think for me, it was an opportunity to do something on my own. It's something that I've always thought about doing, but as you probably know well as well, that going from having regular employment and then starting your own venture is always a bit of a leap of faith. But this is like 26 years of being in this industry now, building up contacts, building up reputation, you know, doing what you say you're going to do and looking after people. Just seemed like a perfect opportunity for me to have a discussion and see whether we could create our own thing. And you know, AV8 is the result of that. Really, it's been great. I mean, the coverage the last couple of weeks or so has been fantastic. Really kind responses from the industry and from around the world, actually, because you know, the last 10, 11 years at Meridian, I did get to see a lot of the world and look after international distributors as well. So yeah, it's been a sort of a culmination of all of that effort and energy, and now it's now it's my own thing. Yeah.
Well, it must be nice, you know, obviously we'll get into the sort of bits and pieces of it in a minute, but it must be nice looking at the social media feeds from, you know, people obviously inside CI, Essential Install, Hidden Wires. You know, it must be nice reading those comments, because I think it was said when I got here, the interaction we had on the Inside CI LinkedIn post just on its own was like over 3,000 people had looked at it and interacted with it. I think 80 to 100 people had actually sort of liked up, thumbs or hearted it. And then so many like, congratulations, buddy, great move for you. So for like me, somebody who's been in this industry for nearly 20 years, to see those comments must have been like, okay, right. This is what I wanted to hear. Couldn't have really, those bits couldn't have gone better, I don't think.
No, I don't think so. I think I didn't really think about that side of things. I was so focused on getting the business up and running and being ready to work from day one effectively, and making sure that team were ready and, you know, happy and motivated to get going. And then you know, the announcement went out and the feedback it's pretty overwhelming. It's very humbling as well. I think you know, you do the right thing and you look after people, but to see that level of response was really flattering. And it is, yeah, it's quite emotional on some side, because you just think someone's gone out their way to say something. And yeah, of course you've got likes, thumbs up, all of that type of stuff, but it's the phone calls, the text messages, the emails and so on. And the support from day one really has been fantastic. And it's great, you know, I've been speaking to people who have also started new roles that have got in touch before as well, just to say, you know, hey, excited for you, you know, congrats, pumped and all those things. So yeah, it has been fantastic. I couldn't have asked for more. Yeah.
So tell me a bit about AV8. So obviously a lot of people would have known you, Meridian, distributed by Meridian, and the brands that you had there. So obviously AV8 is a completely independent business. There are no financial ties to anybody else apart from Barry's bank account.
Yeah.
So it is an independent business with you. So tell me a little bit about the structure of the business. You mentioned that you've got some people working for you. How did this scenario come? Because I think you said to me when we were setting up, like, it had been sort of before Christmas, January, the balls had started rolling. So tell me how this sort of came about, and tell me a little bit about, you know, AV8 being an independent business and your vision for the future.
Yeah, I mean, you can probably tell from, if you visit the website, av8distribution.com, which actually quite a lot of quite a lot of people have. There's a bit of the story on there, but really it was about creating those relationships and really working with those relationships that we've had for such a long period of time, and then moving that into the next level for us. And those relationships are so critical to what we do, both on the dealer and integrator side of things, but also on the supplier side of things. I've worked a really long time to cultivate those relationships and basically look after either suppliers that we're working with or with integrators that we're working with, and just moving that onto the next level, but also having the control and the creation, if you like, to be able to do things that you want to do as well. So whilst ultimately we are supplying products to installations, and that's what we do, the backbone and how we do that and how we support those things is really, really key for us. We work at the very, very top end of the market. We have a very, very finely chosen range of products and brands that we work with, and they're all really I always say they're the Coca-Cola of the brands. You don't have that, oh, we've got Pepsi Max. We only have the very, very best brands. So we need to represent them properly. We need to make sure their products are specified correctly, calibrated correctly, looked after, during the deployment stage. And we're working with amazing integrators, and their service level agreement to their clients is really our bar. We need to be able to offer them the same service level agreement that they offer to their customers. So for us, it's really about elevating ourselves to have the best products, the best design support, the best sales support, and then the best after sales, which is obviously much easier said in a podcast than it is done in real life, but we're committed to making that happen.
So with the brands in Pacific, nothing really has changed much from what you were doing previously. So anybody watching this who's not read the articles, anybody reading this who, potentially, I can't imagine there's anybody in this industry, in this country, who doesn't know who Barry is. But so the brands that you had at the previous place have literally just come straight over to you. The service level agreements, the support, all of those types of things, the integrator should expect nothing different.
Yeah, exactly that. My telephone numbers remain the same. Yes, we've got new email addresses, we have some new phone numbers, but one way is you could say the brands have followed me. The other way is you could say the relationships have endured across to this new business. So the promise of performance and delivery that we made as DBM, that's the same as we've got really with AV8, and the brands willingly wanted to work with us because they know that we've got the right mindset involved to carry things on. So you imagine we finished the financial year at Meridian in the end of May. Well, there's projects that are being delivered right now. So AV8 is going to commission those projects with the integrators. So we've got a project over in Germany to go and finish off on a marine application. We've got one over in Dublin to go and commission, and multiple across the UK. So we're going to be carrying on what had been promised before, because that's how you do things. Friday night there's a project that it wasn't originally, but now because the residence is mobile, we were supporting Friday evening over in Florida, because that was the final day commissioning, handing over stuff. So we were in comms with the guys on site to make sure that the handover was smooth. And honestly, 8 in the evening, receiving a thumbs up, we're all sorted, was fantastic.
I think it's little things like that, isn't it? I know in the years I was an integrator, the 19 odd years as an integrator, when you got that, first of all, you saw the message come on your phone on a Sunday morning, you're like, oh my God, no, I don't need this today. And then you open the message up and it was like, we had a party last night. I just want to say thank you. It was amazing. And I think that, for what I know of knowing you for these years, and for how I feel being in this industry, it's those little times where you might go beyond it, but you go beyond it because you know that the client's going to enjoy it. And that obviously in the case of distribution, the integrator's going to be like, thanks mate, thanks for supporting us. Yeah. So yeah, I think to get those little bits and pieces like that, they sort of make those late evenings and those early mornings a little bit more tangible.
Yeah, I think you go beyond it because you care. You could be cynical and say, oh yeah, but you just want the next order. No, well, sure, that might happen. It also might not. You can never take anything for granted. We go beyond because we care, we're invested, and we want to see you have a good result. It reflects well upon us. It reflects well upon the brands that we work with. But honestly, it means that next time I see you at a show, I don't have to go and hide. I can go up to you with confidence and say, wasn't that a great experience? Didn't that go well? It's personal for us to make sure that when these projects are delivered, they're delivered to the standard that's expected by all. And there'll be dark days. There'll be days when we're going, oh, how are we going to sort that out? But I know we'll get through them because we have done every year that I've been in business for working for other people, and we'll continue to do that with AV8 moving forwards as well.
There's always a way to address an issue. There's always a way to sort a problem. Sometimes you just need to step back from it and go, okay, this is channel A is not going to work. Do we go to channel B? So the brands that you've currently got, are you actively looking for new brands to fill gaps? Is probably a bad word, but to fill sort of like fill opportunities. So maybe some brands that you didn't do at DBM, in some areas that you didn't do. You're now, as AV8, you're looking at, okay, so we could do with this, we could do with this.
Yeah, it's really trying to find something that would add value to an integrator's projects in most cases. Most people say, I don't need another ABC or XYZ. No, you might need the best ABC or XYZ, and that's really where we fit in. But yeah, there are a few, not many, but a few spaces within our portfolio where we could look to add some additional support to projects. So one, never say never, but two, also just keep an eye as to what might be useful. And there's a couple of things that we've got our eye on that we'll see how they develop. But I think it's more about how does it fit into the range, how does it offer a benefit to our partners, and how can we support on the deployment and the execution of a project. It's pointless having a thing with either no market or no clue on how to support it. So it's not about bits, it's really about how does it make sense? Because there's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah.
And so we're really focused on what it is that we do. And if you look across the range at the moment, there's very little crossover and there's very little competition within the range. It really is, very specific, just very, very premium, high performance systems.
Well, no, in our last, I don't think it was on the talk, but I think it's when we talked, you were talking about the synergy between Meridian and TPI.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would look at that and go, well, hold on a second, that's two competing speaker brands. But it's not.
No, absolutely not. And, for us now, as the time's gone on a bit more, it's very clear where we use Meridian and it's very clear where we use TPI. And I think that just comes with time spent with the brands and also with the dealers that you're working with. But we're not in every project. It's not possible for us to be in every project because of the range of products that we offer. So when we're in a project, we know for sure we have the right solution and we'll offer the best option for that project. And sometimes that'll be a Meridian product, sometimes that'll be a TPI product, sometimes it'll be neither. Because it's aesthetically, for example, we don't have an invisible offering within those two brands, for example. So there'll be times where we aren't right. There'll be more times where we are right. It's more about, and this is, I think, where the sales experience comes in, why people should work with us and how we can help them to get, a really high level of performance into a client system.
So at DBM, you had the design service, and like we say to all of our customers, all my ex-customers, you've got to get us involved as early as possible. We've got to be there at drawing stage. We've got to be discussing cabling schedules before we even think about kit type of thing. Do you still offer the design service? If we have an integrator watching this who's like, oh, okay, so I potentially want to speak to Barry about a project coming up, is it still the same scenario as like sooner the better?
Ideally, yes. We do get involved late stage, which is fine. It's a bit more speed required in those scenarios, but the sooner the better, because if you want to leverage us and our sales ability early on, then get us in day one, let's meet the client and let's help develop the sale in the first place. And we can typically help to increase the value in a lot of the projects that we get involved in. We can see 30, 40, 50% increase on the overall spend because of the way that we introduce. Maybe one might like to have some of these things added to the system that they didn't know were possible, or maybe the integrator lacks the confidence in telling someone that they can have that. But a backbone of all that is the design service. And so Chris Smythe, who many of you will know, you met him again recently when you're over to see us. One, he's just one of the nicest people on the planet. He's just a really, really gregarious guy. Dealers like working with him. if clients meet him, they love him as well. And creating that proposal that we do with the design service is a real key thing. It's a document that's branded with your logo, branded with our logo now as well, but it explains why you might want to scale the system up and what benefits you get from that. And I must admit, you know, week one, seeing a proposal go out in the new pack, the AV8 branded prep, I mean, that was pretty cool. I was pretty proud about that. Chris did a great job, and you know, there's a lot of those that have already gone into the field. And you know, sometimes if you're trying to present something to someone, the design pack's very useful. If you just need us to check the trigonometry effectively on a project to make sure that the laser hazard's okay, to make sure that the sight lines are okay, the throw's right, the offset's right, and we can do obviously simple drawings just to show the technical, yes, this will work. We sign off and approve that this will work.
Proof of concept type of
Yeah,
thing, yeah.
or you know, you can get more involved and you can do a whole design pack. And I think having seen a few projects recently where we've been involved with the integrator and presenting the system to the client, seeing how the client perceives these documents, they're like, oh right, yeah, this is like a statement of fact almost. This is something that's not just a spreadsheet with a price at the bottom, because there's no pricing in the documents, right?
Yeah.
The document says this is what we would suggest. The integrator is in control of the pricing side of things. So it really is a technical document that really helps with that delivery, I think. Yeah.
I think unless a lot of clients have had a cinema before or had a solution like that before, a few people, you know, in my experience, a few people don't really perceive, oh, I'm just going to walk into the Odeon, or I'm just going to walk into, you know, the Showman or whatever like that. They don't perceive how honed it is to the individual or to the family in a room like this.
Absolutely, yeah.
So obviously one of the biggest benefits with DBM was the demonstration facilities, because you could produce those documents, you could get the client in. I mean, I personally would like to liaise with the client first, show them documentation, get them in for a demo, whether that was at the old showroom or, you know, one of the distributors, obviously like Meridian, because that sort of enforced everything before you then dropped that, you know, bottom line on them. Because a lot of customers would just scoot to the end and miss the 32 pages of you know, Euro Module 1, Cat 6 and all this lot, just see how much it's going to cost them. So do you still have the access to the demonstration facilities at Meridian? So that element of it hasn't changed at all?
Yeah, so one of the key things is demonstration. We're not selling, you know, health insurance or otherwise. We're selling entertainment, we're selling immersion, excitement, drama, action, all those things. So demonstrations at the heart of that. So yeah, we have access to the two systems at Meridian, the two theatres we have there, but also all of the other show spaces for 2-channel demonstrations, you know, listening to a bit of music, plus the amazing reception area. We'll still be hosting events there. We'll also have access to the TPI showroom up in Leicester, and also Cortrick, so Barco's headquarters as well. So we can take dealers and also clients. It's amazing.
Stunning building in a stunning town.
Yeah, it's a very cool place. It's quite close to Spa-Francorchamps as well. Should one decide that after visiting a manufacturer, they might like to go to a race circuit or maybe even the Nürburgring.
I've got a segue here. So your logo, it is very raceway.
You know, quite like cars. So I remember Chris asked on the LinkedIn post, how do you say it? And I said, well, there's a pause in between. So you say A and then V8, because, you know, I'm quite partial to V8 engines. I think most people know that. The speed lines, as they get called, which is the bit that runs across on the bottom of any of the presentations that we do. Yeah, they're a cool part of that. Yeah, but back to the demonstration. So even in week 1 of launch, so we launched on the Monday, Tuesday, I was back doing a demonstration over at Meridian with an integrator. And it was great because the client had systems before. So he wasn't new to these things. But we sat down and we started chatting to him. We probably chatted for 20 minutes before we played a single piece of content. And he was asking a lot of great questions, which is always fun because he was really engaged. You know, why is the screen that size? So I said, well, try the front row, try the back row, explained about angles, determined at that stage he's a 45-degree man.
Right.
He's a back
Okay.
row guy. So now we're going to in Chris's drawings, we're going to size the screen based on where the client's going to sit and the viewing angle that he likes. But one of the big standouts for me was I said, have a listen to this, see what you think. And he said, the dialogue's amazing. It's so clear. And I said, oh, interesting you point that out. Why is that? He said, well, in my system, it sounds like this. And he goes, I have to run it with subtitles, or I have to rewind it, or I turn it up for some bits and I turn it down for another bit. So we are seeing these second, third, fourth generation cinema owners now who have an idea of what they don't like about a system, but they might not know how to fix that. So being able to just sort of tease that information out about vocal intelligibility, how important the center channel is, how important channel placement is, there is a more sophisticated buyer now, which helps because we have more sophisticated systems. So the differentiation between, what a lot of people will think a cinema is crash, bang, wallop. Well, no, if you're playing a piano piece, then it should sound like a piano. Just because it's a high sound pressure level theatre system doesn't give it a bye to not sound like a piano. So all those parts now, we are seeing a more sophisticated buyer, a more educated and a more experienced buyer with these systems. So they have a higher bar of performance. And I think that's where, the demonstrations that we have at TPI and Meridian really bring out those benefits of a premium system.
I think the thing is, I think people are starting to realise that Atmos is more than just movies. I was at an event the other day with one of your previous employers, and that was about music and immersion in music. And that really, to me, we were talking to the artists, and that really, to me, sort of like enforced that side of the industry, or sorry, the side of the room that not many people know. So I think actually, yeah, getting someone into one of the demonstration facilities and maybe playing some music, or maybe even the screen not on, especially with Meridian, fundamentally, awesome at reproducing movies, but phenomenal at reproducing music. I mean, some of the best things I've ever heard are on a set of, Meridian speakers at Huntington, funny enough. Can't afford them otherwise. So I think, yeah, having that with the client, but also having that with the integrator. So you mentioned training. So are you still looking at bringing people into the different brands, so Meridian, Barcode, TPI, etc., and offering hands-on training? And maybe you don't know about this product, come here and listen to it, look at it, play with it, just so you can sell it.
Yeah, I think the training aspect, we have a slightly different approach with that because we typically sell products that aren't in every installation. Even someone who's flying along doing cinema systems, they may only do 3-4 projects a year. So their day-to-day contact with that type of product is more limited.
Yeah.
It's not setting up a control 4 system, which is in every project that they're doing, or a Crestron system, which is in every project that they're doing. So the retained knowledge with those type of products is reduced because you're not hands-on all the time with them. Like, we know that, we're very aware of that, so we've developed a way of supporting that, hence supporting a project in Fort Lauderdale, or supporting a project over in Germany at a boatyard, or over in Dublin. So typically the commissioning services that we offer are really a part of a handover, but also fine-tuning the system. By having the skill set in-house, we're able to say, this is how we would do it.
Yeah.
Here's the steps, here's the process, here's the flow that we work through to do this, here's the end result. Now, what's your opinion on that, and how can we tweak that? Now, on the video side of things, it's an absolute, it's right or it's wrong. On an audio side of things, it's much more subjective. So we will show how we achieve a result that we would be very happy with, and then we listen to feedback from either the integrator or the client in many cases, and it's the usual thing. Could you make the rear channels louder? Can you make the top channels louder? So those types of things. And knowing where all the buttons are, knowing where all of the sliders are, and understanding how these things work. Some people do have that skill set and more. Some people don't have that skill set. Some people would still like to know and have the hand holding on there. So some of that's remote and some of that's us visiting site. Either's fine. Whatever level of confidence that you have is not a problem at all. We've got the skill set all the way up to large, DCI machines that most people dream of selling in the first place. Over £100,000 for a projection system. Well, they need to be maintained. They need to be serviced every 12 months. So, we got trained up to do that, so we can deliver those services. we've replaced light engines in projectors as big as this table.
Yes.
That is not something that you perhaps would have thought you'd be doing in a basement of a project, supported by the warranty of the manufacturer, but someone's still got to, you know, replace these things, put it all back together again, realign everything, calibrate it, and then give a thumbs up afterwards. So being able to do those types of things as a small distributor, I think really sort of shows the level of support and care that we have. We don't like outsourcing that type of thing. You know, it's a human thing, so it requires a human touch and it requires a human interaction.
Well, I think I was talking to, I think when just after the announcement came out, I was talking to Hugo, and we were sort of discussing it and what's going on and all this lot. And it's just like, well, actually, you'll get more Barry potentially with AV8 because it's not only his company, but it's the sole focus, the products he represents, the company that he owns, and the distributors that he, the integrators that he works with. So, you know, there's none of the other things around him to, you know, take the focus away.
Every morning I wake up, that's what I'm focused on doing. You know, there's nothing else on that. I had a phone call at 10 to 9 this morning after having a 5:30 phone call in the evening on the Friday, which was just, you know, running through final part of basically the commissioning sign off of a projector installation. Cool. You know, the phone call in the morning was, is it too early? And I said, for what?
For business, never.
Like, well, my phone's on. And again, that text I sent on the Friday night was, hey, look, I know you're 5 hours behind and I know you can't get access to it yet, but I'm around. Like, if you need anything, give me a shout. I think being available and showing that you're there to support people is a key thing. In both those instances, it was only text messages.
So we're going to start seeing on Facebook, Barry's travelling too, Barry's travelling too, Barry's travelling back from.
Yeah, no, I don't. It's funny. I probably used to do a bit more of that than I used to. I have sort of dialed back on it a bit these days. I think there's a way I'm working on, which you'll see in the next, you know, few weeks or so, which is a better way of getting information out to integrators. You know, I love visiting the dealers and I love spending time with the teams, but it's so difficult to fit within their busy schedules. And it's so often is the case that you go, oh, can we change that meeting? Can we change that meeting? Can we change that?
Customers
and really, it's like, well, this information I'm going to tell you is really useful to your business, in my opinion. I would love to convey that to you, but finding a slot when we can meet up, because you've got so many people and there's so many pulls for that resource within there as well. So just trying to work out how we can serve our customers better and give them the information that they need. So we're also looking at how we can do very simple booking systems, so you can book in resource. If you know you're going to be on site next Friday and you need some help, well, just tell us and we'll bang out some time. You may not need us, but we know we're available during that period of time. So we're ready and we're set. We know what the project is. We know what the products are. We know what you're likely to need. We can preempt. We can send a load of things through. These are the steps. This is what you need to do. These are the things to be aware of. These are the typical pitfalls. And you're already armed, you know, when you're going to site. You're not walking in.
Well, it's so simple. It's so simple to sort of say, look, I'm going to be working from the office today. Drop me a call if you need me because I'm available. You know, right, book the day out. I'm just going to catch up with X, Y, and Z. When it comes to things like pricing, product range, I know personally from my integration days, my quotes always happened on a Saturday or Sunday because it's the only time I was off the tools. So if someone wants to, well, first of all, if someone wants to sign up, they don't know you. So if someone wants to sign up with AV8 distribution, AV8 distribution, how do they go about it? And then what resources do you have available, from as simple as a pricing structure to what products are available for them to dip in and out of whenever they need to dip in and out of?
Yeah, that's an important point. I mean, of course, we'd love to be involved in a whole system, but there's no issue with us being a bit part in the overall film, if you know what I mean. So if you just need a projection system, cool. If you just need some loudspeakers, no problem. If you just want a DCI server system that can play the latest day-and-day release software.
I've always just wanted that.
Yeah, then sure. So that side of things, you know, we're known as a system company. A lot of what we do is systems, but we are still very happy to work on you know, small parts. You still get the same service and support. We feel we can impact the project more positively if we're involved in it more. Yeah, price lists are on our website. It's very simple to sign up on there to gain access to them. We've done a Excel version, which most people want to use because they can just import that into there. We'll be talking to the usual suspects in terms of making sure our products and brands are presented within Specify and we quote as well, because I know a lot of people are using those these days. And yeah, if you need help, then let me know. We've got an email address, which is TMAT, which goes to all of us, so we can dip in and support those things. But if you're quoting on something, there's probably something we can help you with that's more than just saying it costs this much. Maybe you want us to check the fine details, just bounce it over. Let's have a look. It's very rare that someone just needs to know the price for something. They often need to know, okay, cool. And will it work with this?
Yeah.
Can I plug that into it? Do I do this with it? So it's not just about, here's a self-serve price list. If you don't want it to be, we'd like to be more involved so that we can, give some of that specialist knowledge to there. Because it's, these brands are not just boxes and bits and pieces. They are really carefully curated from our side, and so need to be carefully looked after when it comes to the specification side of things.
Well, I think what's great with the brands that are on the screen is that I certainly know a lot of the faces behind those brands, and they're very much not just boxes and just it's not just a projector, it's not just a processor. There are people and brands behind those, which is why I think a lot of people are going to be happy to hear that what they were used to at DBM is what they should get at AV8. Obviously, this is so brand new. This almost seems insulting to say the next question, but what's next? Where can you see this going?
Yeah, I mean, I can see us already in week 3 this is, being pulled into more projects, which is fantastic. It's massively appreciated. I really feel like people are seeing the skill and the resources that we can offer and how that can be beneficial to their business. And so, yeah, we are being pulled into a growing number of projects that are all pretty cool. I mean, obviously, usual case, you can't really talk about these things, but we're getting asked to be contributors to some amazing specifications and amazing systems, which is, yeah, it's flattering. And, at my heart, and same for Chris as well, we just want to do cool stuff. Like, we love the technology, we love the performance, we love the excellence that you can deliver. So being involved in those projects in that way has been great. The other big thing for me is I want it to be more than transactional. We talked about relationships a lot. It was no surprise to know what my hobbies are, but actually those are the hobbies of quite a lot of my integrators and partners around the world. So I'd like to do a lot more of the outside of work.
So sell a barcode project, they're going to track that Brands Hatch.
Maybe. I mean, maybe. I don't think so. I don't want it to be transactional. I want it to be more like a club or a community. So I don't want it to be hit X, get Y, because that is transactional again. This is, I'm doing this. I'd love for you to be there. I think you'll have a great time. By the way, whilst we're there, we might pop into.
Well, I think if you look at consumer technology, there's so many brands out there who are they're box shifters, for want of a better word. The client needs A, come by A. And I think that what's always been nice about dealing with some of the brands in our industry, and also, dealing with yourself at DBM, is that it's almost like, well, okay, yeah, we do these, but let's talk about the project. What are you thinking? Because actually you might not just need to spend that, or do if you go to this, you're going to unlock the potential to do this, which, as you say, I'm pretty good at keeping up to date with everything. In 20 years I've been doing this, but you can't keep up to date with everything.
Oh, it's impossible. There's way too many products around, and I think, for me, I'm looking at where can we add value and where can we open up a new space. So, of course, cinema is the obvious one. The less obvious one is outdoor audio, and then the even less obvious one is home nightclubs or home recording studios. They're new verticals for us too until we started working with TPI. So being able to go outside of a theatre into a garden with TPI, going into a nightclub, and you've not had the opportunity yet. You will do. There's a lot of building work going on at TPI at the moment as they're adding more demonstration spaces. But their nightclub range of loudspeakers are gobsmacking.
So I need to put my Acid t-shirt back on again.
You just
Right there.
need
I
to
don't think I'll fit
try.
into it.
You need to listen to it and try not to just smile and laugh your head off when you hear it, because it's mega. And I think that enthusiasm and excitement that we have for deploying theatre systems, moving that into a home nightclub, moving that into a home recording studio, or DJ booth or otherwise, these are sorts of things that people are starting to go, yeah, we could do that. That'd be pretty sweet. So I think that's given me some sort of fresh energy and excitement, and I'm now like looking for those projects and asking for those projects. You haven't got space for a nightclub, have you?
And you'd be surprised. I mean,
yeah, of course.
Shout out to Robert Maven. He's done a few, which some of the
amazing.
projects that he's been involved in, have been like, it's a nightclub. That's an outdoor TV. That's an outdoor system, or you've got like, Simon, who does the podcast with me. He's been involved in some projects which have been like, speakers in swimming pools, garden audio. And I think if you look across our industry or the industry across social media, you see a lot of home cinema companies are out there doing it. Plus, you're in there doing the home cinema, have that conversation with the client. So I can see there's some work going on outside. What's going on outside? It's going to be a barbecue area, blah, blah, blah.
Well, we got asked to visit a project because the client came over for a demonstration, saw a Freya and went, yeah, that's what I need. And so he ordered a Freya, which is fantastic. He's then got another property, as most clients do have, the projector in there when I'm not happy with it. Okay, so we go over to have a look at the property and we do a review on the projection system. We check it over, we make sure it's aligned correctly, make sure it's focused correctly, do a cursory calibration on it, and then do a report back to the integrator to say, this is what we found, this is what we'd recommend, right? Pretty straightforward. And in this instance, I looked at that where the property was and I said, hey, an outdoor audio system. Yeah. Should we review that whilst we're there? Yeah, it's been in a while. I don't think he uses it much. It's not very good. Oh, okay. So then we just did a quick review of the outdoor audio system. We looked at the placement of the loudspeakers, the quantity, how many of them were working, what did they sound like. And I know the client, having met with him, is really into his audio and goes to a lot of the nightclubs where audio is really important. Right. Over in Ibiza, there's a lot of nightclubs that very low capacity, 300-400 people. But the sound systems are absolutely outrageous. Typically, they are TPI systems in those instances. But so we did a review of that, and then that went on to another design proposal. So what was a can you check out a projector was, here's what we'd put in there to replace the projection system. Here's how we'd refresh an aged outdoor audio system. By the way, the client may already have heard of these when they've been at the nightclubs in the first place. So those types of ways of introducing, I think that comes back into that sales ability. It's looking at things and saying, well, what is the opportunity? How do you present the opportunity, and how do you give someone the confidence to present that opportunity? Because ultimately you're saying to somebody else, would you like to give us some more money for these things which will make your life better? Not everyone's comfortable with that.
Well, I think quite often in my days, when someone's turned around to me and said, oh, I don't like insert brand here, if you then have a conversation with them and go, why? Because it doesn't work. I had a client, a very famous client, I don't like it because all of the favourites are in Russian. Well, did you happen to buy the house from a Russian family? Like, yeah. Well, that was because that was their favourites. We need to get someone in to reprogram for yours. But to them, it's like, doesn't work how I want to work it. But they didn't understand behind it.
Gotta get beneath,
and I think when you've had something installed badly or incorrectly,
yes,
then to go back to that client and say, well, look, okay, it's a great system, but what should have happened is X, Y, and Z.
That's why, the design service really takes responsibility for that. So it's basically a certified stamp of performance that you'll gain, whether that's, brightness, viewing angles from a projection system, or an LED, direct view LED, large format display, or an outdoor, whatever it is, we know that the products that we work with will deliver this level of performance, and therefore you can proceed with confidence that that's what you're going to deliver. Yeah.
well, especially large format, as you say, large format LED displays. You know, that was the barcode we saw out at ISE was stunning.
It's phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now having, you know, DCI within that range as well, so now we can offer the Bel Air server systems with direct view LED and with traditional projection. But LED is, in the US, it's huge. It's a vast percentage of, you know, more than half of their theatres that are being deployed in the US are with direct view LED, which is incredible. In the UK, it's a much smaller number, but it's definitely on the increase.
And of course, that's something where the design service will come in, because obviously if you're putting a large format LED on the wall, where do speakers go?
Yeah, it's a big challenge. I mean, we're very lucky because we've got the two best solutions, obviously, in my opinion. You know, Meridian pioneered and developed the image elevation technology, so we can put the 3 speakers beneath the screen, use the image elevation technology to bring the soundstage to the center of the LED, which is one option, works incredibly well. We demonstrate that quite often, actually, if we're doing demos at the factory. And then TPI has the movement system, which has 3 speakers below and 3 speakers above, both different systems, both deliver really credible performance, and really to the point where now I will go, yeah, sure, you can have a TV in your cinema if that's what you like, because the audio compromise is not a compromise if we're using one of these technologies. Whereas I think if you'd asked me a few years ago, I would be very staunch and against direct view LED. There's loads of benefits it delivers, and my personal view is you should use projection, right? But if a client is asking for a television, a large format LED, then you say, absolutely, here's a large format LED. They're not wrong for wanting that. And as long as we're responsible with the specification, make sure we've got the ventilation, make sure we've got the audio dialed in so it's working as it should be, there's no downside for them wanting to have large format LED in the room, because you can have incredible brightness, incredible contrast, and all the other things. So I think now I'm much more comfortable specifying, you know, large format LED, especially when we can do it in scope format as well, so 237 format and DCI. You know, we've got an offering for theatre systems with LED, and we've got an offer for living rooms with LED.
I was going to say, because obviously some of our clients will have a dedicated cinema room, but then they want a big screen in their sort of living room. And okay, big TVs are getting bigger.
It's still only 100-inch.
Yeah.
Though, isn't it? I mean, it's still...
realistically, I mean, 113 now, I think, with one of the brands, and you're looking at 25 grand.
Yeah, I remember my first TV, 100, that's not... you could start with a 2 if you want.
Yeah.
But you really, you know, and also we want to be measuring how wide it is, not what its diagonal is. So a 4.5 meter wide television in the living room, I mean, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
There's a big drive for it in the US, and I think we will see some more of it in the UK as well, which is large sporting rooms, where a large format LED is perfect for that, because especially if you've got multiple things. Well, like the weekend we had the Grand Prix on, which was fabulous.
Awesome.
3 Brits on the podium.
I was about to say, 3 Brits, yeah.
The GOAT on the top step, Alan Lewis,
see.
fantastic. But we had that on. There was also that other race, you know, one of the biggest races in the world, the 24-hour Le Mans. They're both on at the same time.
I was gutted because I didn't go this year, so I was trying not to watch that because I didn't want to be sad.
Yeah, but you know, that's where large format LED would be fantastic, because it's not which one do you want to watch. You just go yes, and you go Formula 1, Le Mans, Formula 1.
With some football around the edges if you want to watch the World Cup. Yeah.
So having the real estate for that, and you don't want to be watching the Formula 1 in a dark room. You want to be eating, snacking, chatting to your friends, because the audio is really just dialogue. There's no dynamics, there's no magic, there's no surround effects. It's just, you know, some great commentators getting you excited about what's happening. So in those environments, you know, you want to have great speech intelligibility. You want to have large real estate, so you're not squinting. You've got this big old.
You got to impress your mates,
and you want to show off to your friends. So you know, those types of events, I guess you could call them, they're perfect for LED. You know, trying to make projection work in that environment is absolutely the wrong tool. So yeah, I can see that we will see more LED come through, and it's also because it's got better. Uniformity of the display is very important. You know, they need to be very, very flat So having a really good mounting system, you know, like what Barco have developed for their range, is really important. Having a white glove service to make sure it's installed properly is really important, which is also what's offered there. So yeah, we are quoting a lot of LED at the moment, and we've got such a big breadth of range in terms of quality, light output, ratio, size, pixel pitch, all those things are covered. I think this 26, 27 we'll start to see more and more LED being deployed. Yeah.
And do you have plans for case studies with some of your clients? Obviously, if they're allowed.
Yeah.
So if people might see some case studies coming out from some of those jobs in, you know, certain publications, I know of one. So just to see, you know, what sort of projects you're getting involved in.
Yeah, I mean, you know, over the years at DBM, we did some amazing projects, and some of them we were fortunate enough to case study. Mr. Who's the Boss was one of my favourites, actually, because that was a huge project to win. The integrator, you know, Simon did an amazing job of bringing us in early. Who'd have thought?
Yeah.
Letting us do some demonstrations and present it to the client, which they loved. And then obviously the final handover commissioning side of things. But that was a great case study. And, you know, that's the type of projects that we get involved in. That's the type of thing we want to do at the back end. So yes, once we've got a project over the line and the client is happy for a little bit of photography, video or otherwise, we'd absolutely love to do that. You'll notice at the moment, we very deliberately haven't included case studies on a website, because what I don't want to do is take a project that we did, even though it's really, you know, the same people and it's the same brands, but that wasn't my business that delivered that. And so very
Take
much
off their logo, shove your
I'm not going to do that.
stop
We talked about it because you could say, oh yeah, but you know, you were involved, you did do a lot of, sure, but that's not mine. And I think I'd like to, you know, carve out my own case studies and deliver those as well. And I think they will come. They're seldom because there's a lot of client confidentiality, but where we are able to, we absolutely will. Yeah, because I think they're just a showcase of what's possible. I think one of the biggest assets you have is the projects you've done before, because you can use those to help motivate. You know, for me, a lot of dealer meetings is storytelling. We did this the other day. Boink.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. I've got a project where we could do that. I didn't even think about it. All right, cool. How can we do it? So a lot of it is that ideation of, you know, options and things that can be done, selling the dream almost, and then that will start to sort of tease out.
Someone's going to have done it. Someone who's going to have done it first for the first time.
Yeah.
And then if you're involved in that, you can say, well, look, we did this over there, and it worked really, really well. So
yeah, I mean, as I say, you know, really, and I was there for a long time, so I did get to see a lot of the world. So I've got a lot of friends over in the US, but also into Europe, South Africa, Australia. So I get to see, and I would, you know, these are my friends around the world, right? Of course, they're in one sense customers because they bought something from us, but really, you know, the relationship goes way beyond that for me. And so they're proud sharing things that they've done, which gives me another idea as to how we could look at using that in the UK. So that sort of network of amazing integrators from around the world doing like bonkers projects. And yeah, they're only the ones you get to see. The ones you get told about are even more crazy.
Yeah, the ones at the senior awards, you're having a drink. Oh, what happened to that? Oh yeah, you should have seen it. It was amazing. You're never going to get to see it though.
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, yeah, some of the, well, it's what NDAs are for, right?
Yeah.
But some of the stuff you're signing an NDA for, you're like, okay, this is some proper stuff, and you know that will forever remain a secret, and you'll never get to see behind that. But yeah, they can really give you some amazing ideas, and I think what's brilliant to see is the quality of the integrators that we have in the UK is amazing, and so well they can deliver these things.
Yeah.
You know, these aren't flights of fancy. This is not something made up that maybe one day might happen. It's like, no, of course they can do that. And that's really cool, because then nothing's really off limits. You can go wherever your imagination takes you. And then you can work with people who can help deliver that. And I think one of the new brands that we added into AV8 is the guys at Cinema Pro, which is part of Future Automation.
Yeah.
You know, Future Automation have helped me to deliver loads of projects over the years, because we're like, well, how do we make that work? And we might do a little sketch, and then you'll show it to them and they'll go, I remember my first sketch. How about we do it this way?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, that's why you're mechanical engineers. That's why you do that, isn't it? So I think, you know, that knowing people that can help to deliver the dream outside of your own remit is a real key thing. So a lot of occasions where we've said, you really need to speak to these guys, you really need to speak to those guys. So we talk about partnerships, but we have partnerships that go outside of the brands we work with. We work with a lot of other distributors around the UK who have bits that fill in spaces where we don't have. So it's not uncommon at all. I was chatting to Jamie at CAVD, great guy, great business. They absolutely have products that we don't offer, and of course I'm going to recommend that they go to there if they need that. So we've got these relationships, and it's not just about a sale at all costs. It's about doing the right thing and, you know, getting the right result.
Well, that's what I think is great about this industry, you know, that we've both been in for a while, too long. Yeah, you might have competitors who are not too far away from you, but actually a lot of them are friends. You could share successes, you could share, you know, issues you've got. So talking about AV8, is there anything else you want to cover to bring the podcast to a close? Are there things that we've not talked about? A self-promotion plug again for the website, etc. Yeah, is there anything else you want to talk about before we close down the conversation?
No, I mean, you know, just to say thanks to everyone for being so supportive, for getting in touch and having a chat. It really did mean the world to me, and I think that's been, as I say, really humbling. And really just get in touch. You know, we're, in my opinion, great people. Chris especially is just one of the nicest people you'll ever speak to, and incredibly talented when it comes to design. And if there's something you need, get in touch. If we don't know how to make it happen, we know who can make it happen and will help make that happen. And yeah, thank you very much, and look forward to working on the next project with all of you. Yeah.
Excellent. And the website address again?
That is av8distribution.com. Same as our email addresses, just with a name in front of it. Yeah.
So thank you for your time. Thank you for doing this podcast with us. And yeah, Barry, good luck with your future endeavour.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you.
Cheers.